Phillip and Aaron Slight for Kawasaki on 1 and 11. Sean Gallagher for Honda on 008. On 4 is Peter Goddard. And on 54, down on the front row, Kevin Thielen. On the back row of the grid, as Michael Dowson comes through, and he's on 9th grid position, so he's on the 2nd row of the grid, and down at the tail end should be Malcolm Campbell. As they fly away, it's Tony Armstrong, the former champion, gets a good start from the 2nd row of the grid on 82, but then Aaron Slight again does a great start on bike number 11. Robbie Phillip is looping in behind Sean Gallagher. Gallagher holding 2nd place at the moment on 008, and you can see there that Phillip got past him, so it's Gallagher and Phillip, and then Malcolm Campbell, who's made a great start. And from the ABC minicam, you can see that now 3 bikes head Sean Gallagher on the Ready Line Honda number 008. Heading that round now towards the Southern Loop. Malcolm Campbell and Michael Dowson's shot up into 4th place. So Sean Gallagher back to 5th place. And the remainder of the 29 bikes sorting their way through, all of them chasing Aaron Slight on bike number 11, the number 2 Team Kawasaki Australia rider, who's in the lead at this stage. A 3-way fight between the manufacturers, between the 2-bike team of Kawasaki, several Hondas, but only one from Team Honda Australia, Malcolm Campbell, and both Peter Goddard and also Michael Dowson for Marlborough Team Yamaha. It's Kawasaki's 1 and 2 at the moment. And Aaron Slight, who really seems to have the measure of getting these things off the line quickly, doing a great job, as he'd done in one of the earlier heats of the Unlimited, the 1000cc championship, where he led for quite a number of laps from Malcolm Campbell, and his team leader Robbie Phillip ran off. But now it is Phillip in good form, looking right on the heels of Aaron Slight's bike. Malcolm Campbell in close. The 2 Marlborough Yamahas of both Peter Goddard and Michael Dowson in close company in 4th and 5th place as they complete the first of 23 laps. And if these other factory teams want to stop the green meanies from getting away, then they'd better get honking quickly too. Malcolm Campbell's out after them on 3, and then Peter Goddard with Michael Dowson 2 places in arrears to him. Dowson's on number 2 and still very weary, and slightly jet-lagged from overnight Friday to Saturday morning flight from Japan. And quite rightly, in qualifying yesterday, he wasn't prepared to risk anything. There you see the leading trio, the 2 Kawasaki's, then the Honda on its own behind, Malcolm Campbell, and they stream away. Look at the way they just suddenly bolt when they open the throttle. This is the Southern Loop. And that's 4th place Goddard. And 6th place Michael Doohan. Sandwiched in between them, Sean Gallagher on 008. Lap 47.5 was their lap time from a standing start. Aaron Slight. As we see here, Sean Gallagher with the ABC minicam doing a superb job, showing us Peter Goddard in front, the 4 times Australian dirt racing champion. He's in 4th place, and at the moment, getting away from them is both the Honda of Malcolm Campbell and the 2 Kawasaki's. So down the straight they come, and they're having a grand time. Slight and Phillip and Campbell in very close company. Then it's Goddard and Gallagher, and falling away from them a little bit is Michael Dowson. Not only did he have that overnight flight, he had several days of testing a Grand Prix 500 up in Japan, and he must be quite weary and being sensibly a little bit cautious before he gets into gear and starts to try and produce his best. Because a slip at this stage, with the promised Grand Prix ride just 3 weeks away, is what Michael Dowson really doesn't want. It's been the dream of his motorcycle race career for quite a number of years. He's been granted the opportunity. He must not muck it up. Phillip is now heading Slight. Campbell's still in 3rd. And Phillip, the man who had a virtual failure, coming 14th in the first round, 13th 15th in the first round at Symonds Plains, getting just 1 point, but was second in the second heat down there. He's a long way back in the championship. He's in equal 6th place on just 18 points by comparison. Malcolm Campbell, who had a perfect score, 2 20-point victories. Aaron Slight, who had a second and a third, to give him 32 points. Sean Gallagher, who had a third and a fifth, to give him 26. And then Paul Feeney, who had a fourth and a sixth, to give him 23. So Phyllis really doing it well now. And of the three local dominant factory teams, the man who hasn't, or the only team that hasn't been able to grant him a Grand Prix opportunity, because Kawasaki doesn't have Grand Prix 500s, 250s, or indeed any capacity. So Robbie Phillips concentrating on superbikes and will no doubt be in to put an impressive show at the Grand Prix meeting in the superbike race there, because in addition to the three Grand Prix classes, 125, 250 and 500, there are superbike and sidecar races as well. At the Grand Prix meeting, 4 days of action at Phillip Island, April 6 to 9. And the 1:42.09 lap time, well outside the times done in the unlimited race earlier this morning, and also than the new lap record that's been established, not sure by whom, but Campbell and Phyllis both travelling in very quick times this morning. And gone missing is Peter Goddard on 4. So Goddard in 4th place, not around at the moment. Phyllis certainly in good form. He had an off-circuit earlier today, and unusual for him. Peter Goddard trying to push his bike back to the pits about 300 metres in front of these bikes. We'll probably see him. He's just there. There he is, Peter Goddard down there stationary on bike number 4, not far from the pit lane entry, which is downhill. If he gets it to there, he may be able to get the Marlboro Yamaha team to do something and to help him get the bike mobile again. Phyllis, followed by Campbell, being trailed a little bit by Aaron Slight. Sean Gallagher trying to keep them in view, and Michael Dowson behind, and there's Peter Goddard looking for some downhill to get him back to the pits. It's not very far before he gets a little bit of assistance, and Glenn Willing and Dudley Lister and a few other of the boys will be able to help him at that stage. So when he went out, he was in 4th place. And very grateful to the ABC, their mini cams, they're on shore, or mini cam that's on Sean Gallagher's bike, their technology and chopper, that's helping us bring you these on-bike pictures. And of course, that 008 Ready Line number that's backing Sean Gallagher, and in which you can pick up the motorcycle race results on a special number. Here's the picture. It just shows the enormous angles they can crank them over to. The tyre experts say that physically 45 degrees is the maximum angle of lean that you can get. If you have a look at the horizon, it's 60 degrees. So somehow the adhesion and the construction built into modern tyre technology is allowing them to gain 15 extra degrees of lean that the physicists say is impossible. And using it to its utmost is Robbie Phillips and Mal Campbell. Campbell back with Phillips. The man that he beat twice at Symonds Plains. Second in the first race at Symonds Plains was Aaron Slight. And just a little way back in 3rd place is now Michael Dowson, bike number 1 minute, Sean Gallagher. Sorry, it's number 11, Aaron Slight, then Sean Gallagher, then Michael Dowson, bike number 2. And 54 is Kevin Thielen. Sidecar racers didn't get as much opportunity to to run in long races like this, but they sure ran plenty of laps around this circuit, Geoffrey Taylor, and I imagine physically it would be a very tough circuit to do an hour's racing on.
Well, on a sidecar it'd be particularly tough, mainly for the G-forces which you don't get on these bikes, but it would be still tough enough on a side, that's for sure.
Because it's a very busy track, isn't it? It's one where you have to work very hard to get the lines, and sometimes one of the optional lines that's available right, and the decision you make really holds for a very long time in the long sweeping corners that are part of Phillip Island.
That's right. It's not only busy, but you've got to concentrate, and as you say, to be smooth and so on, so you've got a lot of things happening all at once.
Down to the start-finishing line again, hitting about 265 or so kilometres an hour, is Phillip and Campbell absolutely locked together. The Kawasaki on 1 and Campbell on the Honda number 3, and he goes down towards the inside, ranging around to the outside, but can't quite get past him. You can see, though, that Campbell now wants the lead, and he's starting to challenge Phillip for it. This is the end of 6 laps. They're on their 7th. A 23-lap race, 103.5 kilometres. Should be a very good scrap, I'd imagine, Geoffrey Taylor, between two of the really experienced and hard men of Australian motorcycle racing.
Well, it's a long race. These guys are pacing themselves a little bit, I think, although their lap times are coming down from what they were. Mel is sitting behind Rob at the moment. It's a bit hard to know what he's looking at, if he's looking for a way past just yet, or he's going to sit there for a while and let the race run itself, then go for it. Time will tell.
The production class being led at the moment by Steve Martin of FZR 1000 from Southern Yamaha, Southern Racers Club, and he's leading that. James Knight blew his engine up yesterday in the Arcade Chains bike. So did Paul Feeney, and so one of the prominent bikes in the class is out. In fact, it was the one that won both heats down in Tasmania, from Scott Doohan, second in the championship. Michael Doohan's older brother, Scott, 2 years older, about 26 years of age. And then Greg Garwood, Christian Phillips. Steve Martin's in 5th place. No points in the first heat at Phillip Island at Simmons Plain, but in the second, he was second in the production class. So he's shown his form. Malcolm Campbell showing his too on lap 8. Trying another way. Rob Phillips making it very difficult for him to find a way round.
Oh, Rob's concentrating on being smooth, and Mel's going to do it the hard way. He's going to go right down the outside if he's going to pass him.
And in the pits is Peter Goddard's bike. Dudley Lister working on it on bike number 4. David Earl, former car racer there too. And looking very much as though the bike's been propped up and put away. Sean Gallagher on 008. And he's back in 4th place at the moment. He's very well placed. In behind Aaron Slight, he's 3rd on the Kawasaki. So this is, in a sense, a non-factory bike. And over the top, I think, of Lukey Heights. Yes, and down to the tight right-hand hairpin there. And then heading around towards the next named corner, Swan Corner, that brings him round onto the straight. Watch around here how long he's cranked over the corner and how the radius of the corner varies. Then finally onto the straight. Pits over to the left. Honking on now. Watch him as he gets up towards top speed. You're with him at about 260 kilometres an hour down the straight. They go over the crest and then suddenly back to 5th. Back to 4th. Turn right. And heart in your mouth at 200 kilometres an hour. And Phillips fends off Campbell.
road race title. Trouble strikes the seemingly trouble-plagued Yamaha team. Pete Goddard, what's the problem?
I think it's maybe a gearbox problem. It's made a bit of a noise, and I thought it might have been the brake binding for a minute, but I looked down and there was it was coming from the rear of the engine, so I thought it was a gearbox noise, so it's no good trying to press on with that.
Especially on a circuit like this, it is very dangerous.
Yeah, it is very fast, so the last thing you want is to lock up.
Does a rider become more nervous on a circuit like this when he fears a lock-up?
Yeah, I think so. You try to keep that out of your mind. You know, if the bike's running fine, you've got no problem, but when it's making noises, it does get on your mind, yeah, and the best thing you can do is pull in the pit.
Would you have been prepared to press on a slower circuit like, say, Lakeside?
I don't think so, no. The noise is that severe. I think the bearing is pretty well gone. And if I had pressed on, it could jeopardise other riders with oil being spilled or something. So it's better to pull off and get back into the next round than go on with it and maybe destroy the engine.
Thanks, mate.
No problem.
Lurched into the lead as they start at lap 10. And this is the charge, surely, in this 23-lap race that Phillip now will have to hang on to. The man that won both heats down at Symonds Plains in round 1 of the championships is now trying to do the same thing for the first heat of round 2. Honda's Malcolm Campbell trying to punch away on the RC30 Honda, bike number 3. And Phillip trying to stay with him on the new ZXR 750 Kawasaki. Up towards Siberia corner, out of Honda. Now climbing away from the ocean from Siberia. Hooking around this succession of corners around the back of the racetrack. Really is a great race layout. It's fast, it's very safe, and on top of that, and that's an unusual enough combination at a racetrack, it is also very, very good for spectators. Jeff Taylor, you don't often see 2 of those combined, certainly almost never 3.
Well, I think this track would have to be one of the best ever circuits I've ever seen for spectators. I was lucky enough to go overseas last year and to some of the circuits there, and you're very lucky if you can see just a small portion of the track. I think here you would see, from most spectator areas, about 90% of the track.
Yes, you can see a very high percentage of it, and you see glorious sights like this, awe-inspiring sights when you see it happening live. Malcolm Campbell coming back from about 265, 270 kilometres now to go right in the south curve on towards the southern loop, and then to speed around this back section as we see the update there. Honda first and fourth, factory bike and team support on the 008 Ready Line telecom bike, and then in between them the 2 Team Kawasaki Australia factory entries, Rob Phillip and Aaron Slight. Phillip very busy trying to ensure that Malcolm Campbell doesn't get away. Campbell came out dominant in the unlimited races because Phillip went off in one of those, and so a 3-point deficit in that series has been brought up after one race to a 4-point advantage. Sorry, after 2 races to a 4-point advantage for Phillip. Up over the top down of Lukey Heights and down to the right-hand hairpin on lap 11. Up halfway through lap 11 after 11 completed to half race distance, and minicam here of Sean Gallagher close to Aaron Slight, coming down as they complete lap 11. So Aaron Slight coming back a little bit to Sean Gallagher, and the Kawasaki Honda argument in the reverse of the argument at the front of the field, where it's Campbell leading Phillip. This one's the Kawasaki rider Slight leading the Honda rider Gallagher, coming around towards the outside, ranging on the outside of him. round the southern loop that goes on seemingly forever, 180 degrees, speeding off now, the ocean on their right, the grandstands there all in readiness for the Grand Prix, and down towards the tight right-hander Honda corner. Watch them sit up and brake hard. And look at the gearbox, all busy in engine revs as he times the gear changes. And Gallagher doing a great job after a crash yesterday and injury to his right hip, his right arm, his shoulder. He's pretty sore. The sort of thing that gets stiffer and more bruised and sorer overnight rather than better. And he's in fourth place and looking for and wanting third and arguing over third as he chases Aaron Slight up around the back section on this great Grand Prix racetrack. Up over the top of Lukey Heights, down towards this tight right-hander. And then settle it over on the left, and look how long now they're in this corner and the varying radiuses of it, but they're still cranked over all the way till finally they get to Swan Corner here, the apex, and they sweep up right from that, and that's about 14.5 seconds of cornering, constant left-hand corner, and very typical of Phillip Island. In the long time that you can be hooked over in any one section, you'll find the same thing a little bit off the straight here in the south curve. Not quite so bad there, but then have a look at it as Gallagher comes around the outside now. They're cranked over in Southern Loop, and they're cranked over hard for, it's coming up now after more than 8 seconds until finally they speed off about 10 seconds in the one corner in Southern Loop. Cranked over hard. No wonder Michelin and the other tyre companies want to come and test here, because they don't know of any racetrack that's got the same combination of good surface, of good temperature in the racetrack, fairly good weather, not all the time, but certainly at the time of the year that they want to go testing, and that can get the load and the temperature into the tyre and sustain it for such a long time. Making it a valuable motorcycle race test centre here, and Michelin considering setting up a permanent facility to come here at various times a year. And look at Gallagher, not quite down under Aaron Slight as they argue over third place. And we go back to the ABC Minicam, and he looks to range around the outside, but he's not quite so well positioned there. Couldn't get the power on quickly and hard enough to come past Aaron Slight. And look at the sort of revs the bike's doing, cranking its way round towards 11 and 12,000 revs fairly constantly. On 11, 12, 13. Down the straight again as Aaron Slight goes over towards the fence and goes past a lapped bike and then pulls it back 2 cogs and from 260 kilometres an hour to go right in the south curve. Good, hard, pursuing riding, and the argument far from over from Aaron Slight. And the race now into the second half in the 23-lap race. Lap 13 completed by the leading 6 bikes, which are Mal Campbell still leading Rob Phillis, Aaron Slight in third, still just ahead of Sean Gallagher in fourth on 008, then Michael Dowson fifth on 2, sixth on 54 is Kevin Phelan, and that's on the RC Honda 750 from Nova Honda, Springvale Auto Wreckers, and then in 7th place is bike number 35, Phillis in front of Campbell now. So this argument a goodie. And plenty of Kawasaki response here from Phillis. 35. Further back is David Ross. Round onto the straight to lead his first lap across the start-finishing line for a while is Rob Phillis. He hadn't led since lap 8, but he took the lead on lap 3. He finished, well, he was taken by Mal Campbell during lap 9, and Campbell had led to the end of lap 13 as we come back on the minicam and look at Aaron Slight coming down the straight. You saw when the race leaders did it. Now we're looking at 3rd and 4th place bikes doing it, so that's how far behind they are. And it's a great battle And look at Gallagher's Honda drifting out wide, sliding the back wheel. And Jeff Taylor, does this do anything to wanting you, interesting you, sparking you up to getting back onto a race bike?
No, I'm enjoying watching. I'm watching the minicam pictures here are fantastic, I must add. The only thing you don't get is the feel of the bike sliding and so on, but it's fantastic. No, I'm enjoying watching.
So you retired in when, Jeff?
In 1983.
Right. 14 Australian Championships in that time, and plenty of racing here at Phillip Island?
Oh, yes, I raced here quite a few times. As you said before, it was the second meeting ever I raced here, and to me it was one of the best circuits I've ever ridden on, and it was good then, but it's 100% better than that now.
And you saw some of Australia's motorcycle greats at this track, people like Bob Brown, who did so well internationally.
Well, I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but I came here when the circuit was first opened in 1956, I think it was, and...
That's permissible. That's permissible. It doesn't make it too old.
Right.
And who else did you see here? Did you see Carruthers racing here and
Bob Brown and
John Dodds?
I can't remember John Dodds, Tom Phillips, Maury Quincy. I think he was not far from retiring when he rode here. Peter Kavanagh.
Yeah.
It goes on and on. Bill Lomas, I think
Okay, the British rider.
I might be wrong there. I might be wrong there, but certainly Ken Kavanagh.
And down the straight, getting away just a little bit, Aaron Slight from Sean Gallagher. Again, South Curve. And still Gallagher can't find his way round. Frustrating for him, poised there, trying everything, and going now, and getting him surely, boxing in Aaron Slight as they go round the left rider, and he does it. Sean Gallagher up into third place and gets his apex right for the next right-hander. So, into third place, the 008 Ready Line Honda, ahead of Team Kawasaki Australia's Aaron Slight on bike number 11. So, what a long, hard battle it was for Gallagher to find his way through. He's just 25 years old. He was on his backside and his elbow yesterday. The bike was repaired by Mick Smith and other Honda crew. And Gallagher was obviously ready to keep punching and has done it well and is now up on lap 16 into third place, coming now round to pass Mark Vissenden. But it was a nice piece of manoeuvring. He probably was helped by boxing Aaron Slight in there with the other lapped rider, and yet I think that Aaron Slight, Jeffrey Taylor, was lapping a little bit more slowly than Sean Gallagher, and that now that he's passed, I think he might just get away from him a little bit.
Well, it looks a little bit away. He's probably using Aaron as a guide to ride from, but next few laps will show out.
Rob Phillips leading Malcolm Campbell. So again, the Honda Kawasaki scrap has reversed itself in both positions 1 and 2 and positions 3 and 4. Formerly, when Mal Campbell was dominating Phillips, it was Slight on Kawasaki dominating Gallagher. Now all 4 bikes have reversed the situation, so that Kawasaki's Phillips dominates the leading argument over the Honda rider of Campbell. And in the second thing, it is Honda on domination, Gallagher on 008, dominating Aaron Slight in 4th place on bike number 11. As they come over the top now, Lukey Heights, down to the hairpin, brake it hard, get it in there and get the power on as early as you can. As Phyllis says, get in quickly to the corner and then get out of it as fast as you can. Be in the corner as little time as possible. Corner that brings them round onto the straight. And to the start-finishing line to complete lap 17 for both Phyllis on number 1, Malcolm Campbell on number 3. The Honda looking a little bit loose there, showing that the track's not perfectly smooth. It's got a few bumps in it. In fact, there's a join of bitumen round the back as they come towards Lukey Heights. It's quite a thump when you go over it hard in a car or on a motorbike. But like the argument for third and fourth, or perhaps I should say at this stage unlike, because they're tending to come apart a little bit. Read this message, because this 008 ready line number is important. You can get the full results from this race meeting on 008 033 008, and that's just for the cost of a local call. Other people are paying to give you the information, so ring that number 008 033 008, and you can get the race results and indeed the qualifying results from all the Shell Oil's Australian Road Race Championship meetings. And goodness me, says Tony Jerram on the Suzuki number 34, as he's absolutely surrounded and overwhelmed, and a rider there well aware says, down the inside, boys, I'm staying out wide, and he lets Phyllis, followed by Campbell, go through. And in fact, that rider sits up and says, come on, Mal, I'll give you a free go. But Mal, in fact, had lost a little bit there. So Campbell didn't do so well out of that. Coming around now in a 23-lap race, so there's not so much more of it still to go, and Campbell's back at Phyllis, and it's only about 2/10 of a second. He goes down the inside of him, and he goes back into the lead. Malcolm Campbell on bike number 3. So as they start lap 19, so 4 full laps remaining, it's Campbell from Kawasaki's Rob Phyllis back into the lead. And he is flying, and he really does want perfect results in this Shell Oil's Australian Superbike Championship, the long-distance version of the races in that series. Swoops past number 44, Wayne Birtles, and comes up to the once Australian endurance champion. I think by performances in the last couple of years, we're learning that he was fairly lucky to win it. He bought a Kawasaki ex-Rob Phyllis, and he ran very consistently without winning a race, a Suzuki, and won the championship, but he hasn't done really anything since, and both Tony Armstrong and Suzuki have been a little bit out of it since then. And now Mal Campbell comes by and overtakes the leading bike in the production class, Steve Martin. That Southern Yamaha brightly coloured FZR 1000 is leading the production class and doing a jolly good job too. And now Phyllis, second place, goes past also the leader in the production class. So now, really getting to a very tense time for Campbell, for Phyllis, in this hard-fought first heat of the second round of the Shell Oil's Australian Superbike Championship at Australia's World Championship Grand Prix circuit, Phillip Island. From Melbourne Airport, 160 kilometres, about 100 miles, and from Melbourne City itself, about 140, 135 kilometres. So allow up to a couple of hours, and you will see one of the world's great road race circuits. And we're seeing it superbly now with the ABC Minicam mounted on the Ready Line Telecom Honda number 008, and with some of Australia's great road race riders. Team Honda Australia's Malcolm Campbell, Team Kawasaki Australia's Robbie Phyllis falling back. Campbell's romping away. I'm starting to wonder whether Phyllis either or simply just doesn't have an answer, or whether he's got some sort of a minor problem. And I think Campbell, as he slides the bike out there, powers it out hard through that right-hander. And I think Phyllis might be, Campbell might be wondering the same thing. Where's my old mate, my scrapping rider? And so, with only a few laps remaining, they're coming round to complete 20 in a 23-lap, 103.5 kilometre race. Malcolm Campbell asserting himself and giving us this situation. Honda Kawasaki alternating in the first 4 positions. Honda Kawasaki in 3rd and 4th with Gallagher and Slight in that great battle you saw with the on-bike camera. Malcolm Campbell now in the remaining few laps asserting himself over Rob Phyllis. Phyllis led from laps 3 to 8. From lap 9, Campbell led until lap 13. Phyllis led 14 onwards until the end of lap 18. And now it's Mal Campbell back into the lead again. One of Australia's favourite riders, along with Phyllis. Both legions of fans, quite rightly so. Good, hard riders, always prepared for a scrap and to give it their all. Phyllis was probably Jeffrey Taylor, more ensconced in his position in road racing when you were racing than Mal Campbell, because Campbell came into Honda in relatively recent times, didn't he, initially, to support Andrew Johnson?
Well, that's indeed right. Mal, I was aware of him in the mainly Castrol 6-hour races. He was putting on a very good show with fairly low-budget teams, and once he got the Honda right, he's really come to the fore.
And of course won one of those production races, and has won AGPs at Bathurst. He's ridden the 500 V3 Grand Prix Honda successfully at Bathurst, but also in a couple of GPs last year. He scored points in both the World 500 Championship and in the World Superbike Championship last year, and he wants to pursue all but 2 or 3 rounds of the World Superbike Championship this year. He'll have a Freddie Merkel engine, which he picks up in Germany, on the way to Donington in England, and he hopes it'll be a harder running, more powerful engine than the local Honda engines he's been using here. He's on lap 21 now, Malcolm Campbell. Completes that. Rob Phillip has fallen away to about 4 or 5 seconds behind him. And so the argument appears to be over at the front end of the field after 35.5 minutes of racing. Coming up to lap and do it in remarkably quick form, like 64, Ian Short. And Phyllis with no answer now to the flying Malcolm Campbell. Not even in the background of the picture there. You see Campbell's right hand pumping the throttle as he comes down to second gear. And the bike goes out sideways under power. The back tyre hanging on desperately for grip, and Campbell hopes it keeps hanging on. So there, let's go. It's going to be a vicious high-sider. I think one of the hard things in racing a bike like this must be not dealing with just the acceleration that's available, but in hooking together a complex circuit like this so that you're getting the power on, getting in onto your apex correctly at every point around the racetrack. And these bikes take a lot of muscling. They don't change direction as sweetly and as readily as the light and much more steering sensitive Grand Prix bikes.
Well, these bikes are really compromised. They're basically a hotted up production bike, and as such they're fairly heavy, and they've got quite a lot of power, but they're not so easy to ride. Physically quite demanding.
So out onto the final lap now goes Campbell. He's got a lead of nearly 5.5 seconds over Robbie Phillips in second place on the Kawasaki. So he really has gone for the doctor, the Launceston builder. He's done it well, and almost certainly he's going to make it a perfect score in the Superbike Shell Oil's Australian Championship. He's had 2 wins in the first 2 heats of round 1 at Symonds Plains. He's heading for another win in this heat, and he's won both earlier heats at Phillip Island of the Shell Oil's Australian Unlimited, the 1000cc championship. So Malcolm Campbell having a good day, still got another one of these Superbike races to contend with. A tiring long day, but at the moment perfect in result, not an error in the riding, in a bike that blew up yesterday that Mick Smith changed the engine in overnight, and so far has been flawless and quick. And that this rider, the stringy 33-year-old Launceston rider, has converted into, so far, 3 victories on the day off Lukey Heights. Lap 23, coming up over 100 kilometres covered now, coming up to complete the 103.5 full race distance in the last left-hand curve. Finally, it becomes Swan Corner. And the run onto the straight where Mal Campbell actually has won several of his races in hard charges down towards the finishing line here. Sean Gallagher, as Malcolm Campbell goes across the finishing line, we watch him over Lukey Heights on the 008 bike, and then Rob Phillips in second place. Glenn Dix, the flag waver from Adelaide International Raceway and at any other major race meeting in Australia, doing the very acrobatic honours there. as Sean Gallagher on 008 comes back in 4th place. He's been relegated to 4th, so Aaron Slight had got back ahead of him and claimed 3rd place on number 11. Then it was Gallagher. So Kawasaki's dispatched by 2 Hondas there. Campbell first, Rob Phillis Kawasaki second, Sean Gallagher, Gallagher dispatched in the 2nd position, so coming home in 4th place on the Ready Line bike, and Aaron Slight for Kawasaki, making it a good 2-3 result for Team Kawasaki Australia. But Malcolm Campbell retaining now on 60 points his lead in the Australian Shell Oils Superbike Championship, this being the first heat of round 2 at Phillip Island. The race time 38 minutes 47 seconds for the 103.5 kilometres. That averages out to 160.2 kilometres an hour for Malcolm Campbell.
And